Okay, intro music.
Welcome back to FORTitude, folks. I'm JW, and my co-host Brenton Payne across the table from you. We have a very special show today, Brenton. I need to tell you about something. So there's some guys here. They're oenophiles. This is our new show.
Wait a minute. Yeah, no. You said we weren't going to do this controversial stuff, kid crime type thing. I don't like it.
But they're already here. Can we go ahead and do that?
Do they have a map of where they live, like around certain neighborhoods?
There might
and
be
stuff?
a dot where they live on a map. Yes.
Is that what an oenophile is? What is
I think
an
an oenophile is a person who loves wine, a wine connoisseur. Fair to say, guys?
My bad.
And that's our last big word we're saying today.
Right.
Okay.
Weston is the only one smiling.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard's sitting here like, I don't like this joke. I've been told this joke, but this is not a joke.
Today's show, Brenton,
Chris is
on
going, what the hell am I doing, man?
is the FORTitude Wine Roundtable. You can find us on social media at FORTitude FW if you want to check us out. Today is a special one. We're going to be having some wine today on the show with three gentlemen, Weston Eidson, Richard King, and Chris
Keel.
I just dropped that name, and I'm sorry. Chris Keel are going to join us on the show. We'll do some bios on him real quick. Weston Eidson, to my immediate left, he's the founder of Montagu Wines. It's a boutique winery showcasing wine from Napa Valley and Sonoma. He started the winery in 2012, right, Weston?
2000, yep.
And he focuses on extremely limited production. His mentors were some guys named Jason Moore and Russell Bevan. Fair to say? You're a local guy, you're an outdoorsman, a really nice guy, and your product here we're going to try in a little bit. It's fantastic. To Weston's left
Thank you.
is Richard King.
Nice guy.
He's the co-owner and general manager of
disagree with
Ellerbe's Fine Foods, along with Chef Molly McCook. It's a farm-to-table concept. If you don't know Ellerbe's and you're listening to the show, you're probably missing on something because he's been around a while and he does a fantastic job.
We had your waiter on, too.
Like
Scott,
Burton?
yes,
Yeah. We had Scott a few months ago.
That was a great one.
He was a good one.
Scott or Ginger?
He serves as a sommelier for the restaurant. He just added a new guy, Chester Cox, correct?
Corey McBride.
Corey McBride, excuse me, I got the name wrong.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Just make up
Our
that name. That was way
research
off,
team,
man.
our research team dropped the ball on that one. Richard's very involved in TCU and the Ford restaurant wine scene, and he can also be found in places like Mardi Gras from time to time. His restaurant is the top 10 restaurant in Texas Monthly, a Wine Spectator Best Award for Excellence, Bon Appetit 10 Best Restaurants, James Beard House Preservation Award 2020. He's got a lot of awards, Brenton. This guy knows what he's doing in the wine business and the restaurant business. So thank you for being here,
Yeah,
Richard.
thanks, Richard.
Whoa, that's big.
And the third guy to Richard's left
Thank
is
you,
Chris
Chester.
Keel.
You're welcome, Bob.
Chris Keel. Why did I get that wrong? I feel like I read that right off the internet. Internet doesn't lie, does it?
It's not
Yeah,
live.
Right.
Wiki is not
their
going to be your
website.
friend today on any of the shows.
Fair enough.
Update
Chris
your
Keel, on the far right in the green shirt, is the founder of Put a Cork in It. Chris grew up in Graham, Texas. He's a Midwestern steak guy out in Wichita Falls. He worked at a company called Club Corp of America, a big company, right, Chris? And he learned about waiting tables and has found his passion for wine. Put a Cork in It in January of '06. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's over on Park Hill, right
Park
by
Hill
TCU.
University,
So
yeah.
very, very familiar place to a lot of people who drink wine. So thank you, Chris Keel, for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
to all you guys.
While the show's happening, we're going to have lots of things happening, but we're going to enjoy some wine. The first glass that we're all trying is one of Richard's gifts. So what are we having first, Richard?
Yeah, Bordeaux. It's Du Cru Bocaillou. You want to say that real quick?
Yeah.
Can we pronounce
Du Cru, right, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so actually I brought this wine. This was the actual bottle and vintage that got me into wine. So this is the second time I ever had it. The first time was with my dad in 1998.
Wow.
So the second time I ever had it was with y'all. So a pretty cool bottle for me to bring for a
Thank you for sharing. It's
What
a
were you
fantastic
doing at
one.
that time? Like,
Yeah.
did you own it? Was it?
I was.
No?
Do you remember a restaurant, a wine bar called the Grape Escape downtown across from Bass Hall?
Yes.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, in the 90s. So that's this is kind of what my aha wine would be, if you will.
Very nice. Well, thank you for sharing
You
it.
bet.
First off, we'll start with Weston and go down the road. But Weston, just tell us briefly, why is wine special to you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up around wine. I always loved it. My family always had it at family celebrations and things like that. My dad and granddad were big into it and collected and things and did different events in Fort Worth all the time. I grew up in Weatherford. So I always kind of loved wine and wanted to get involved with it in some way, somehow. And in 2012, took a trip to Napa with my girlfriend, now my wife, and with some friends, and did the typical wine tourist type of thing, and met a guy named Jason Moore, who's also from Texas, and started talking the business with him. I wanted to get in the business somehow, and he said, why don't you just come work production with me, see what you think about that part of the business, and went out there and loved it and started it that year with his help, and kind of going ever since.
What's something like that pay? Production, you would get real high pay out there for that.
Yeah, it was a lot of my own. Sweat equity, I guess you might say, right? Yeah,
and good.
We're familiar with sweat equity.
Yeah. Well, it's the perks. I mean, I'm sure there were some perks for
the
being
perks
out there
are
too.
yes. Yeah, it's always fun to hang out with your. It's one of the few businesses hanging out with the competition and trying their stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So and really, no one ever feels too competitive there in the business. So everyone's drinking good wine, having a good time.
Well, Richard, you and Weston, your winery Montagu, it's on the screen now, is your label. You're very well known for Silver Ghost and the Montagu.
Yeah,
varietals.
exactly. Yeah, so I do basically two different labels. So we have Montagu, which is all small production, mostly single vineyard wines, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Cabernet. And like I said, it's probably like 150 cases of each wine generally. And then we have Silver Ghost, which is a lot bigger production, almost exclusively Cabernet Sauvignon, one wine from Napa Valley. And you'll see that one a lot more. It's distributed a lot more widely. But two totally separate ideas. One is about single vineyard. One is about using different vineyards together to kind of give a tremendous value in a Napa Valley Cabernet.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Richard, you already shared your special bottle with us. Why is wine, when did it become meaningful to you? Maybe it's that bottle, but why is wine special to you?
Well, I think one good reason is all this right here. You know, I mean, these two guys, they're my good friends actually through wine. And I think we have a lot of friends and memories through this beverage. But yeah, it's been part of my family since we traveled around food and wine when I was a kiddo. And then wine's an absolute awesome passion to have in a life. Whether you're way into it on the nerd side or just, wanting to get into it, everybody can relate to a glass of wine somehow with each other. So
very good.
Love it.
Definitely.
Chris Keel, put a cork in it. So we told your story on the bio.
Yeah.
Obviously you're with the Club Corp of America, right?
Yeah, during college, that's how I kind of got into wine. Randomly, a guy left the bottle on the table, and my buddy was the manager at the time, and I was like, do you dump this, throw it away? And he's like, no, let's drink it after shift. So we sat down, and I'd really only drink wine like with my grandparents, like cheap white Zinfandel or whatever. I grew up with beer and bourbon. I mean,
sure.
I grew up in Graham, dry county, so you had to explore your options there. So yeah, we sat down and we started tasting. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And started naming stuff off. He's like, oh, you've had this wine before? I was like, no, I've never had Cabernet. And so it was a Silver Oak 93. So I just got into that way.
First bottle?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So then it just clicked. That light came on and just started tasting. And then I got into management. And after college, kind of messed around. But then I got back and you sit down. I always wanted to own my own business. And I sat down and I was like, I think I know most about wine, and I want to explore that. And so me and my wife opened January of 06, and almost 16 years now, so it's been pretty crazy.
Congratulations.
So, thanks. So
things are still going well for Put a Cork in It?
Yeah, we've definitely adapted over the years, ups and downs with the market crash and all that back in 08, 09, and now last year's show of the world. So
you can say the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've adapted, and I mean we've changed, and still here. So
any
that's
future
fun.
plans for Put a Cork in It?
Just
Keep it going.
Keep going.
Right.
Sell a bunch of wine.
Very nice.
Drink a
Well, I
bunch.
finished my Bordeaux. I'm ready to move on to maybe a little Silver Ghost.
Sure.
Weston, is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Hey, Weston, I'm going to ask you this. Like on the labels, you have these really cool labels. How does that go about? Like, how do you go about making a label for a wine bottle?
Yeah. Well, I'm in that process right now for a new project of mine, and it can be tough. It can be really hard to get what you want on a label for sure.
Yeah.
These were actually done by a cousin of mine. Has a design firm in Los Angeles. They've always done movie posters and things like that. So like they do Call of Duty video games. So neat stuff like that. And he was like, we've never done a label. We'll do a label for you. And it'll be kind of cool. They have it in their portfolio. And I get a professional label done by some really great folks and great art. So that's how this came about. If you see on the Montagu, the Montagu the family crest is the 3 diamonds. They call it 3 lozenges. So they just did a riff on that for Silver Ghost.
Yeah.
And
What vintage?
kind of expanded on that to make the little diamond situations. That's where that came from. But yeah.
And I noticed Richard's wearing the white shirt, which I find very
Thanks.
brave.
Very risky.
Professional.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
risky.
Is that what it denotes? Is that, hey, I drink red wine and I'm not scared.
Scared.
It never gets out of hand.
There's a better flag for drinking red wine. It's usually the teeth turn a little purple color.
Yeah.
Fair
Oh,
to
yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
we'll get there.
yep. All right.
Yeah, we'll get
good.
there.
Good. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the winemaking process. I know, Weston, you're obviously a winemaker, but you guys have all had some experience in this field. Could you go down the line and tell us a little bit about what goes into making wine? So pretend, Brenton, for instance, doesn't know what's going on with wine. Pretty
Yeah.
safe to say.
Pretend or
Yeah.
okay.
Or just
We don't have to pretend. Sports, wine, some of
Yeah.
these things are just not things I don't gravitate towards them,
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, well, first off, we're having Silver Ghost Napa Valley Cabernet. And so like they were just saying, we're doing both are Cabernet Sauvignon. Both the Bordeaux that we just had and this one right now. There are a few big differences where they're grown and how old they are. So we have one's a 96, which is really nicely aged wine. The Silver Ghost is a 2018. And the different style of wines, one being from Napa Valley, one being from Bordeaux. So that's kind of what we're getting to try right now and try the differences ourselves. But for wine production, really it's grapes and put it in a vat and add some yeast, or don't add yeast because the yeast is around us all the time. So some people like to do native fermentations. They use the yeast that's native on the grapes, and it turns into wine. So that's the basic premise of it. It's just how all the things that go in between there. When you press, how hard you press, how you kind of work the fruit while it's fermenting, the temperatures of the ferment with, all those kind of things are where the winemaker comes in. But by and large, it's a process that happens very naturally. At any point. So
Go
ahead.
Do some winemakers add other things besides that really basic process? They add sugar or water or things like
White
that.
Zinfandels.
Yeah.
The secrets come out.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, so
Moonshine? Can you add moonshine to wine?
There'd be a different answer for each of the things you just said. You can add water. If so, in the U.S., you can get hotter temperatures than in France. So kind of there are a lot of these rules are because of the climate that you're growing the fruit in. So in the U.S., because it gets warmer, we don't have a problem with getting sugars in the grapes. In France, they do have more of a problem, so they're able to add sugar. We're not allowed to add sugar. They're not allowed to add acid because they don't need it because it's colder. We are allowed to add acid if we feel like we need a little acid or water, those kind of things. But by and large, no. When you're talking higher end winemaking, it's pretty. The fruit really, you just want the fruit to speak.
Is there like a governing body of like wine? Like you said, they're allowed to. Like, is there like we're enforcing it? Or
yes,
is it
TTB.
okay?
Yep.
Every country has their own governing body,
Okay.
an area. As
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard, if I could pose this question to you a little differently, what makes a good winemaker a good winemaker, if that's a fair question? I mean, Weston we believe to be a good winemaker, but what makes somebody like Weston or somebody who makes the Bordeaux? What makes them
Balls to
solid?
wear a white shirt while
That's right.
drinking it.
I mean, Weston's good hair, so that's a good one.
Starts in the vineyard too.
It does.
Yeah.
No, it does. Yeah. A good winemaker knows how to. I feel make a wine to where, I think the Montagu is a good example to where we can. And we just popped this wine literally 5 minutes ago. It's going to drink great. Also, it's going to be just as great or even better in 10 more years. That's a hard thing to do in a bottle of wine, to where you have consistency among vintages. Because with Weston, he's challenged every year by Mother Nature. What's thrown at it, fires, things like that, and so it goes back to what Keel is saying is that he's in the field and he's also in in the crush pad, so he's doing both sides, and that's kind of a true representation of a good winemaker and being consistent and I think staying true to the vine and to the varietal without having to do very much manipulation.
Yeah, I always say a lot of the thing is knowing what not to do, knowing when you don't need to try to do something. Because I think our tendencies of any person is try to fix this and fix that, do this and do that, but just kind of knowing when you don't need to do that, when understanding your wine, understanding your vines, and having worked with the place for a long time, helps you know.
How would the fires affect it? I mean, this could sound crazy, but you don't taste this. Like, how does the fire really? You can taste the smoke in there.
Yeah, the ash gets on the vines and then it gets into the grapes, and you do get smoke taint.
Do you, as a buyer and a reseller, look at like, man, there was a big fire in this area around this time, I'm not buying that, because, or do you look as it is like a rarity? Is it kind of like a
Most of the time, the winemakers won't make the wine.
Oh, they just simply won't make it.
It's a flaw
Okay.
in the wine. So you're like 07, they had fires in Mendocino, and it got down in the north part of Sonoma, and Pinots. You just taste it, and you're like, oh, it's just like campfire.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so 17, you didn't have any smoke taint, did you?
No, luckily I didn't. Yeah,
they
17 had a little
before
bit
the
of problems,
fires,
but most
but-
stuff was already brought in at 17.
But 20,
But 20 is a problem.
did you make any cab?
I didn't know.
Yeah, so
Chris, do you have experience in the winemaking process at all, or do you have any thoughts on
No, I just drink
winemakers
it.
in general?
no, like I was saying, it's to me it starts in the vineyard, and you just don't want to f up good fruit. I
Yep.
mean, and not make something chasing scores, trying to make a Pinot taste like a cab just to get a 95-point score or whatever. So just
Fair
respect the fruit.
What's the most popular type of wine you also like out of these, cabs, Pinots, things like that?
It's Fort Worth. It's cab. I mean, cab
Okay.
red blends have been hot. I've taken on a roll trying to sell more Italian wine here lately. So
That's what you sell most at the restaurant per glass for people to eat?
I would say the most volume would be Napa. For sure. But Fort Worth, it's been awesome, and because Keel and I've been in business relatively at the same time, we have seen some trends and some different waves in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And so we'll see waves of blends or of Sancerres or rosés, and now it's kind of champagne. So
It's trendy, you mean, kind of?
it does. Also, I think we have a lot more access to information about wine than we did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I think the consumer is a lot more savvy now than they were 10 years ago. One, on buying, and also on knowledge. Makes our job more fun at sometimes. It also makes it harder at sometimes too. It can be frustrating because they show them a wine, and they automatically bring their phone out to the picture, the label. And they're like, well, this guy said it's only 3.5 stars. Well, I mean, like, well, we tried the wine. It's a 5-star wine. It's awesome. Wine,
Yeah.
thanks, Vino.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like WebMD for the doctors at
Yeah,
the
that's
right.
insurance.
Same thing.
They tell
Yeah.
you not to look at
Yeah,
that site
yeah.
at all, right?
Right.
They
Right.
don't self-diagnose.
Right.
But yeah, how do you like? It's got to be kind of like the art world that this guy deals in. Some, there's probably some basic laws that exist around there of what makes something good and bad. But I've got to think a lot has to do with just the person, right? And what they enjoy. So, how do you?
And it's a progression. Like, so I've been in business 16 years, and I've seen people start off with. Actually, take my wife for instance. When we opened, she didn't even drink wine. Mm-hmm. Then she got into bubbles and loved prosecco, and then kind of moved into cava. Now if it's not champagne, I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah,
So it's
Which is a lot of what White Zinfandel did, really. I mean, people kind of
gateway.
I mean,
Let's talk about that. That's actually a question of ours because I remember people talking about White Zin back when it was super popular, how they're adding color to it, making it more beautiful, and they're adding some sugar to it, make it sweeter. That was the thing. Is White Zin still a thing these days? Is it kind of died off, and is rosé kind of replaced that? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think initially it wasn't sugar added. It was a lot that didn't finish fermenting, and so it just had residual sugar left in it from when it stopped. And Zinfandel's a red grape, so I think it was just a rosé of Zinfandel. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, this is actually pretty good.
Is that
Let's see
who
what this happened?
kind of pioneered that push?
Yeah.
Sutter,
like
Behringer.
Behringer, the Behringer's what I
Behringer's
remember.
the one that
Right.
put it on the map. But
Right.
So did wine? So that kind of followed the Zima to the seltzer, the hard seltzer kind of path, like the people, or did the wine?
Brent,
do
I
that
think you're
first?
kind of spot on. Well, you'd be joking, but you're actually, it's right. I mean, like, we all make fun of people who drink White Zin. Well, we all drink White Zin. Mm-hmm. We all make fun of people who drink a Zima. We all have had a Zima.
Yeah. And now they're drinking hard seltzer.
Right,
It's the same thing.
On. But I mean, you start out at a beverage, one, what you can afford at the time, Two, you don't
Mad
want
Dog
something.
2020.
We've had some good days in Mad Dog 2020. All right.
Vintage years.
That's
But
the
you know,
next show.
it just our palates evolve, our wallets evolve.
Yeah.
You know, and so and that goes with it. That goes, I think, with art, right? Same way. I mean, to buying good food to buying good wine. You know, things change.
And then people create niches. And I think, if I can ask this question, how many people you got out there who are buying the most expensive stuff because it's the most, like any other market, you've probably got things that are very overpriced and undervalued, or, and then other things that are very overvalued and underpriced. So, is it your guys' job to find that medium, or like in your guys' businesses, it's like probably sell the highest margin? I don't know. Or do you try to?
I try to find the best wine for the best price. So that's what.
Yeah.
Most all my wine that I taste, pre-COVID, I was tasting almost 5,000 wines a year.
Yeah.
Take notes on every one of them, and I'd try to guess the price in my head, what I would sell it for. And if I think it's $25 and it would be a $10 wine, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Well, Chris, that's a great segue into my next question. What, in your mind, is the difference between a $20 bottle of wine and a $200 bottle of wine?
To me, it just depends on the way it's, how long it's been aged. Those $200 wines need 5 to 7 years, in my mind, maybe 10, to be not necessarily drinkable, but in their prime. Where most $20 wines are less oak, ready to go now, similar to Weston's Silver Ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a price? Go ahead.
It's oak there, but it's not heavily oaked.
Since you've tried all these wines that you just talked about, is there a price point where you're going to get a good wine, or is it you stick to the vineyard, and does price point come into effect with your customer base or you specifically?
No, I mean I've got probably 500 wines in the store, and 75% of them are for sure under $50, if not under 40.
Right.
But I do have the $300 bottles. Or
what's your best seller, Chris?
Besides Silver Ghost.
Yeah,
Besides Silver Ghost,
Silver
yes.
Ghost is my best-selling Napa for sure. But
Is it really?
yeah,
Is it because the label was designed by a video game designer, or how does that work?
no, because Russell Bevan made it, and it's really good.
We don't know what that means.
Yes, we do. It's a little wine.
Wine joke.
That's
Bad wine jokes in this group right here.
But no, it fluctuates from, like Richard was saying, rosés during the summer, I can't keep them in stock. And they kind of slows down, and then people are moving into kind of lightly oaked Chardonnays, Pinot Noir now, especially around fall, Thanksgiving, coming into the holidays. So yeah, I really don't have a number one seller. People just
Fair enough. I saw recently, maybe it's not so recent, but you just received a certification in, is it a wine ambassador of Italy?
yes,
Through
Italian,
Vinitali.
Vin Italy,
Italy?
wine school. Yes,
Excuse me, I pronounced that
Yeah.
wrong.
No problem, Chester.
Tell us about Chester. Will you tell us about that, please?
Chester's gonna love this podcast.
Yeah.
He's a real friend of ours, Chester.
Okay, so it's a real person.
And he
Okay.
did work with me. Yeah, so yeah.
That was like
the
2
way
years.
Richard just he
Yeah.
didn't even acknowledge that's the wrong name. He's like, he just gave you the right name.
Yeah,
Just-
just like we'll edit that.
yeah.
Yes, back in July, I passed the test, which only 15% pass it the first time taking the test. So it's a monster of a test. It covers anything from 2,000 years ago in Italy history all the way up to now, plus soil, and it's too much to talk about.
Similar to the sommelier test, or is that what it is?
It's basically the master somm test, but only on Italy.
Fantastic.
Instead of those guys have to know everywhere from.
Wait, what's the master somm test? Like, how long does that take to?
There's-
It took a lifetime for some people.
yeah.
It's considered the
There's only about
hardest test in the
250
world.
or so master songs, but how many are there of y'all?
Almost 300 now. About
So it's a
300.
pretty. I mean, he's a pretty exclusive club.
Yeah. So the master
world.
somm is like all of this, right?
Correct. I mean,
Like-
from all over Europe.
What's the
Wherever all the
quickest
world.
that somebody's kind of gotten that, or the youngest master somm?
I don't know.
It just happened a couple years ago.
Someone who did all three at the first try, right?
Yeah, because
Y'all did not give us this question ahead of time, so we were not prepared for these.
This is
We're not
like
making
Psalm,
figure.
so I think it was Chester who did it. Actually,
Swig that one.
I'm just going to take a glass real quick. Okay, next question.
How many master
bullshit?
How many
can we
master
just throw out
psalms
a
are there?
name? Is anyone
Did you
gonna
guys say
know?
that? How many master psalms are there?
About 250.
250 across the world. That's incredible.
Is it like a celebration? Like it's like a victory? Like
Massive.
it's a new master psalm. Da da da.
Well, I don't. It is. I think still the hardest certification to get as far as passing rate out of any test. I mean, I'm including down to. I'm not saying it's harder than being a doctor, but it has a lower pass rate than the MCAT does
No kidding.
by a lot, actually.
I would imagine. Yeah, it's
And so it's just these guys will study for forever to get this test, and they'll have a lot of fails. And it's hard work. I mean, it's kind of like training for a triathlon. They are they're just training every single day with their other job they're doing to pass this test to be a master somm.
Interesting analogy, the triathlete and the
Coming
master
from me
somm.
as well. Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
because there's blind theory and
service.
yeah, service.
Service,
Yeah. And these guys, they're studs. They're up there.
Can you take it as many times, or is there they
I
give
think
you a
if you
limit?
pass one, you have a year to taste the other two, or you've got to go back and
You can fail as much as you want. It's just it's exhausting because it's a lot of work and it's expensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you're working a job presumably in the
It costs a lot of
business
money to take
and
these tests.
time. Yeah.
There's a real good movie called Psalm about the experience.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic look
Is
inside
it a
of that world.
documentary or is it a
I
drama?
believe it is. Yeah, it's a
there's
documentary.
2 or 3 of them now.
Yeah, and D.
the
Lynn,
life of
one of the main
Chester
guys in
Cox.
it. Yeah.
It's not, but could be. Chester, I'm going to meet this guy now.
Yeah. He's doing the show now.
Yes. We love you, Chester.
Yeah.
I do love you, Chester.
You said he was a real guy.
Weston, let's turn to you real quick. Your label, Montagu, there's a big story behind that. Can you tell us about your great-grandfather and what happened and what led you here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Montagu is named after my great-grandfather. He was an automobile pioneer in Britain at the turn of the last century. So he was also a lord in Parliament. So kind of those kind of things. It was neat. He was like the first guy to drive a car to Parliament and as a commuting kind of car, and it gave Edward VII his first car ride and did a lot of automobile legislation, like helped change the speed limit from 12 to 20 back then. So pretty neat.
What a rebel.
Neat stuff. Yep. And so kind of in honor of his cool, adventurous life, I have Montagu. But being in cars, he was also pretty good friends with Charles Rolls and Henry Royce. And back then they would make your car, but you would have your own custom hood ornament they called the mascot. And so his was one that Charles Rolls and Henry and Royce liked so much, they hired his same sculptor and his same model, which was his assistant, to be the model for their hood ornament, the Spirit of Ecstasy, which you see on the Rolls-Royce cars still today. So kind of cool story with him. Yep. And his favorite car was a 1909 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, which is where I have the Silver Ghost brand. Yeah.
Is that what's on the hood of your car, Richard? I saw you pull in this morning.
I have that car.
Yeah. But does the Rolls Royce have wings, or that's it's just a figurine of like a woman? Is there wings on the?
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
like
think of it.
with that kind of blowing kind of loud.
Did the model wear the wings during the sculpting?
I think
or
so.
was that an after add-on?
Well, the story was that they saw her like on a
kind of like where my mind's going.
Yeah, kind of like on a balcony
purple,
type of thing, and
come on down
and saw this. Yeah. So,
what's the shipwreck portion of that story?
Well, that's So I guess. So on the label, I like to talk about how she was an assistant, but she was actually his kind of mistress as well. So they were on a trip during World War I in the Mediterranean.
Story's getting better.
Yeah, and they were torpedoed by a German U-boat, and my great-grandfather happened to survive, and Eleanor Thornton was her name, and she died in the wreck.
Oh wow!
So yeah, but that's the shipwreck story.
Was he on an island? Was he alone?
He just was fished out. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, a few hours later. Yeah. But,
turning back to, I talk a little about regions of the wine world. Chris, because of your Italian expertise, could you briefly tell us a little bit about the wine world as we see Italy?
Wait, before we do that,
Yep.
does England make any wines
They do,
in the UK?
yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking about your grandfather.
Yeah, so my great uncle, which is my great grandfather's son, he was big into wine. A lot of people in England are, of course, clarets, what they would call like Bordeaux, and he planted a vineyard in England Southern England in the 70s and has grown white wine on there ever since. And they do a lot of bubbles from there now. And, and now it's kind of a trendy thing. English bubbles are becoming pretty popular as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's neat they still do it. And one day I want to get over there and make some wine off of that too. So
sorry, Chris, I didn't
That'd be
interrupt
fun.
your answer there.
yeah.
Yeah, English bubbles are very popular now because it's getting warmer in Champagne, so they're looking further north to get more acidity.
Further,
So
for sure. Please tell us everything you know about Italian
in
regions.
10 seconds.
Yes.
Just kind of the lay of the land. Definitely Italy in the south part, so south of Rome down to the boot is definitely warmer, hot, and so mostly reds down there. You've got some pockets where you do whites, but it's all down on the tip of the boot. You get a grape called Aglianico. On the other side, in Apulia, they're known for a grape that's similar to Zinfandel, Primitivo. And then going up north of Rome, and Tuscany is, of course, known for Sangiovese. You've got Brunello, Chianti. On the other side, on the east side, you definitely have the same thing. Abruzzo is known for a multiple Ciano, and you go into Marche up there. You got Lambrusco, and then up in the northwest, you've got a Piedmont, which is known for Nebbiolo, which I brought a Barbaresco. Then when the Barbera, and then on the northeast side, mostly known for whites, a Pinot Grigio, Prosecco, which is cooler up there. So they grow reds, but they don't get that ripe, so they're cooler grapes.
Fair to say you got your certification in this Italy specialization because of your love of Italian wine?
Yes, definitely the food, the culture. I've just always had a love for Italy. I've never been there. It's just one of those things
That's even better.
I mean, I travel through bottles of wine. I mean, I'll try something and I read about it, find out what it is, and that Italy was just so intriguing. They make there's 5,000 different grapes. There's hundreds of regions. They all have their different cuisine, and that was a challenge. And I saw that and was like, I'm going to do that. So
do you think you'll be going at some point?
yes, we'll definitely go next year.
Nice.
I was supposed to be in Sardinia actually yesterday, but I didn't feel safe traveling yet. So
had to
Well, you
be
had
here,
this
right?
to be
yeah,
here
Yes.
for.
I already
This-
committed,
Thank
so
you.
I had
Yeah.
to cancel.
Thank you.
So
Richard, Chris brought up the aspect of the food aspect. So, how important is it? Is the food's got to stand on its own? Clearly, does the wine complement the food, or the two have to be like right there, par with each other, or one can overcompensate?
Well, first, I think a lot of people overthink that question,
Like I just did.
like you just did. Well done.
Thank you.
Chester
helped me with it
Good
before.
job, Bob.
Yeah.
So, I think, I tell people that on food pairings, it is important, especially to us, because we want to elevate the food and also elevate the wine at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
We also have the nomenclature we all kind of heard growing up is, red wine, red meat, white wine, and with seafood. That is definitely out the window by far now.
Okay.
So, and food, I just, Chris's example is probably the best one is, where it grows, you also drink. So if you're gonna, have a Sangiovese or Chianti, then have it with Italian food.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of a simple way of pairing. But when you get to Weston's wine, California doesn't have a different kind of cuisine, but his wines are big, bold, larger tannins, and so it needs a different style of food to kind of break that wine down a little bit, and also break down the food as well. So, but more importantly, just I tell people all the time, if you're at a restaurant, just ask the sommelier, hey, this is. We like this style of wine, but we also want to make sure it's going to pair well with what we're eating. And that's when you get to have fun. You do it all the time. You're like, hey, man, help me out. What do we drink tonight? And our first question is, well, why don't you figure out what you're going to eat first? And then when you get your dinner down, then we'll bring 3 to 4 different options of what you like, and then we'll kind of go from there. So,
Can you go like wild card for the first, like before dinner kind of deal?
well, it's bubbles.
Oh.
I mean, bubbles is the absolute best way to start off any meal and finish a meal.
Because it doesn't stay in there like it's kind of clean deal.
It does. Well, one, it's a good just palate cleanser, refresher to get your your mouth kind of going. It also pairs well with almost everything. And there's a lot of people that don't like champagne or sparkling wine, so we always tell go start off with that, and then we'll roll into something else.
Yeah.
Weston, if you mind handling the Sonoma
Sure.
Napa
Yeah.
region of the United States, because you actually spend some time there.
I didn't realize we're going on a tour today.
We are.
Yeah, yeah.
The wine we're having now, Weston. This before. Oh, excuse me. We got to Chris's wine, but before that, we had some of your Montagu Cab. Correct.
Right, exactly. Yep, we had the Montagu Cab, and that one is from a vineyard right where that Napa Valley starts. That the sign that says Napa Valley. It's in a town called Rutherford. This wine is from the Beckstoffer George III vineyard, which is a historic vineyard in Rutherford. So kind of mid valley floor. So we have in North Coast here we have Napa Valley towards the east, which you'll see in the lighter green. And then you have the other two are both in Sonoma County. So Sonoma Valley is a sub-region of Sonoma County. And then you have the other more like kind of Sonoma Coast probably is what that actually is, looking at the one that says Western Sonoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so basically what you want to know is Napa Valley is known for Cabernet and Bordeaux varietals, almost exclusive Cabernet. There's some Chardonnay that's great and some other ones that are great, but by and large Cabernet. And what you want to know about Sonoma is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. That's where their focus is. But there's some great old vines, Zinfandel, a lot of interesting things. I mean, both of them grow all sorts of things. Everything grows well out there. But those are the ones, if you really want to try to learn, focus in on. That's Cabernet there, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay out of Sonoma Valley. And yeah, I mean, it's an awesome place. Very distinct visits as well for touristing. Napa versus Sonoma. Sonoma's a little more kind of spaced out, a little more laid back. Napa's really fun and great restaurants everywhere you can walk. So,
What's
really,
Old
really cool
Vine's
places.
like? Why the name Old Vine? Does it come like from an old
yeah,
vine?
I mean, Chris would probably be really good about this, but because it's originally an Italian varietal, right? Planted. A lot of those old vines are over 100 years old at this point. So just
From the immigrants that came from East Coast all the way to the West Coast to
Martinelli
gold
families
and
and all those.
I mean, even Mondavi's family ended up in Lodi, and then they're made their way to Napa. But yeah, you're looking at. I don't think there's in the United States. I don't think there's a number
right,
for old vine,
no.
but we're not. Most people are. You're looking at 70, 80 plus when they say old vine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a demand for old vine wines?
Yeah, it's those bush train vines that are just like gnarly. They're not those like the picture you had a minute ago. They're not the perfect rows. They're like these gnarly looking.
Yeah, like one sticking out of the
shrubs. They're
ground
like,
and-
what is that? It's,
Yeah.
But it can make a pretty decent wine, even though it
Yeah,
looks
they're
like
intense.
not so good.
No, they're intense fruit. I mean, there's some.
Yeah.
Even in that vineyard, right down the street, Tokalon, they've got some cab that was planted in the 50s, and it's the same way. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
old, most cab.
I sourced some Pinot Noir in Sonoma Mountain, which is in that darker green, I guess. That's apparently the oldest Pinot Noir planted in California now, because some other people have ripped some stuff up, and it was planted in the 50s. But it's like, I mean, it just struggles. It has trouble getting ripe kind of sometimes, but it's just some really neat stuff. It just gives a different intensity and character to it. So, I mean, it's just fun to play with that kind of history.
How big is water an issue in this? I mean, in the irrigation of some of the stuff. You look at California; it's gone through a tremendous amount of drought and fires and all this stuff, and you just wonder. I mean, clearly they've designated the appropriate resources toward this, but do you all see certain spikes in prices of certain things based on kind of speculation like that? Like things like that, like water?
I don't know about
Access
water,
to?
but the drought's definitely affected, and it sometimes concentrates the grapes, but over a long time, it will hurt the industry. But
Yeah, I mean, I think Weston could speak on that pretty strong. I mean, obviously, it lowers yield a lot of times.
Okay.
And so lowering the yield of the production, they still have to make money every single year. So if they make 1,000 bottles one year for perfect weather, and then the next year not great weather make 200, the cost is still the same to run everything. And so they got to figure that out. So I mean, so it can affect the economy a little bit in the wine market.
Yeah.
But they kind of blend those economics over the years if you can.
Yeah.
So the customer's not hitting it every single year, different price points.
Is the Farmer's
Yeah.
Almanac the best source that you all use for?
No, there's an app for that
prediction?
now, actually. Yeah. It's the biodynamic app.
Yeah.
What day is it? Is it Fruit Day?
If you would indulge us,
Last Matt Johnson, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you would indulge us, Richard, with you don't have to turn around, but behind you is the Bordeaux region of.
You're gonna tell me what it is. Okay.
He
course.
can name them all from north
I
to south,
reckon you
left
could.
to right bank. So let's
Ready?
go.
Could you give us your overview of the Bordeaux region in France?
I think a lot of us in the wine industry kind of put Bordeaux as one of the absolute world-class styles of wine. They're kind of the foundation for a lot of countries of winemaking and also wine growing.
Based a lot on weather, right?
And water.
Okay.
Yep. And weather. Yep. Brandon, good question. So France kind of coined a term called terroir. And so terroir is a huge play for them, and basically that is it's weather comes into play for
place.
that. Yeah, it's weather, it's what's in the soil, and then also what goes in what the Weston does on the winemaking side. So those are the three kind of ways with terroir. So with this Du Cru we had earlier, you can taste their terroir. You can taste kind of the year, the vintage. You can taste the style of the Du Cru, and then you can definitely taste that it is a cab based in that soil, and in those the gravelly kind of soil. So. Bordeaux, I love them. They has this prestige level, I think, because of this classification system that happened in the mid 1800s. But Bordeaux's also they're awesome values. You can get great Bordelais style wines for $20 up to $40. You don't have to spend a ton of money on those wines. I can't see the map behind me. I'm assuming it's still there, but it's kind of for the most part divided in a super simple. Right bank, left bank. You got a river running right down the middle.
Yeah, right bank is the northern portion, left bank.
Yep, and right Merlot. That's how I remember it. So right Merlot based, and then left bank is all Cabernet based wines.
Where's the L in Cabernet? How do you?
Cabernet.
It's a French pronunciation. I
Oh,
think
right,
actually
yeah.
is where that comes from.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I think most of us know Bordeaux as more cab wines, but even though they produce a lot more Merlot than they do on cab in Bordeaux. So but you definitely get a different style. I mean, all three wines we're having today, we're gonna get totally different, unique profiles out of them. But this, I mean, you taste that grit, that dirt, that Mother Nature part of it, which I love that kind of style, out of it. In France, I mean, they are very vintage focused. If they have off vintages, sometimes those are going to be the better buys. For consumers, they might not be these wines that will you want to sock away forever. To drink them right now, but you can get some great wines because Bordeaux is really focused on vintages. So when they have these great vintages, like the 82. It just becomes this epic vintage, and all of a sudden everybody in the whole world knows about this one vintage in this one area.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot of countries can say that about a vintage, but everybody knows certain vintages of Bordeaux. So they just
Tell us why 82. That's a great point. Why is 82 such a synonymous year with great wine in this region?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that. I honestly think one of the biggest answers, one of the main answers for that is Parker. That was one of his first big reviews was of France, was of the Bordeaux in the 82s. And it really put Bordeaux massively on the map for the United States to purchase those wines. It was a great vintage. So, on the winemaking and farming side, it was just like this perfect vintage. But
And you're still drinking great.
yeah, they still have a lot of life in them,
What's an average bottle like about cost?
It all depends on who it is. I'll just stick with this guy right here. So an 82 Du Cru, probably about $350 to $400.
If you can find it.
If you can find them.
You have any that you don't have any then? Huh? You sold that like you can't find them?
That was way before my time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for instance, y'all have a bottle of 1975 Lynchbage, right? So different region than this Du Cru comes from. Different vintage, different year. totally different wine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to night and day difference.
Yeah.
Both Bordeaux, but different part
That's
of
right.
Bordeaux.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I kind of really love about Bordeaux is you can really go 1 mile over and have a totally different experience in the bottle than you
Yeah.
would. And Italy's the same way.
Italy, Napa,
Yeah.
you can get into
Yeah,
Rutherford or
and Napa,
Calistoga.
we're getting there.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing about, you know, we drink a lot of Napa and Fort Worth, but I mean, you know, Napa is relatively young, considering
small.
2,000 years for Italy, 2,000 years for France,
Right.
and
60s.
70 for Napa. You know, so I mean, Napa's doing great as for how young they are.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought up Robert Parker, or have on the slide James Suckling, Robert Parker, I was curious of the three of you's thoughts. Why have these guys become such pioneers in the wine rating industry, and what makes them so special in this regard? Why is what they say? Obviously, Chris, you sell wine, you sell wine, you sell wine. Their opinions matter and they mean something. Why? Weston, go ahead.
Yeah, So people ask about the critic type of thing a lot. Does it matter? What do you think about it? I think critics are going to exist in everything all the time. So there's no real point of trying to. Some people really try to really don't like it, and I'd say, well, I mean, you got movie critics, you got art critics, you got food critics, you got every critic. You're always going to have critics.
Some people just criticize other people.
Well,
like me.
that's
Why are you looking at me?
But I mean, I think what's going on. So for a while there, it was really Robert Parker was kind of the guy for Napa, and he
on
was
the right
the
or the
kingmaker.
left?
He's the right.
He's the one here.
Robert's on the right, yeah.
Suckling's on the left.
And right now we're in a situation more with a handful, probably like 5 to 6 different publications / people who are doing wine criticisms, I guess.
Parker.
Yeah, most of them worked for Parker at some point.
Antonio.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of a good place to be because you can't try every wine on the shelf. Now, do you want to always go under scores? No, you don't. But you also can find somebody who has a palate that's like yours and start to understand what they like. And you can, I don't know, try to find some things that make sense for you from reading them. So I think they play a role. They just shouldn't play the only role in a buyer's, I don't know, decision, I guess, really.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they're way different.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
name names. One publication will give this wine 95 points, and it'll come out and say Spectator will give it 88. You're like,
Yeah, and that just goes to show, like, okay, well, I seem to align with Parker's palate. I will go with his scores under Napa, but I really like Galoni's scores in Sonoma, or this or that, and so that matters there. When it comes to Chris's store is cool because he tastes every wine in his store. So you go to Chris and you're like, well, I typically agree with what Chris does. He only buys stuff he tastes, so he can tell me all about it.
Scores. I don't have. What are they?
Shelf talkers,
I
yeah.
don't know that
What's
stuff.
what's the biggest range like of something you've bought and that you don't buy it off of scores, but that you've bought and carried that maybe like really low on a range or really high on a range that you just didn't?
It's almost something I've carried the longest, or just
Yeah.
like one.
Or one that you really like that maybe didn't score that high, or one that you really like that scored really high, and that you maybe not do you not know about? Do you kind of do a blind thing when you do it?
Yeah,
like
I
just
don't.
yeah.
Sometimes or
So you don't
like,
even look
"Do you
at the
wanna know
scores later
I'm
on.
like,
Yeah.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
What's the Trader Joe's $2 chuck typically come in at on a score level, and which region is it produced in?
Next question.
Every region, I think, is the answer.
Yeah, I think it's Central Valley, and
Oh, there's an answer.
they don't.
What's a
I
good
don't think they
pairing
score-
for that one?
sangria.
Whataburger. Right? I mean, it's $2 chuck, so I mean,
Yeah.
you got to stick with where it's grown.
A
And,
taquito or more of a burger?
oh, burger.
Okay,
Yeah, come on.
thank you.
Yeah, that's-
Richard, why do you think these two gentlemen, Suckling and Parker, why do they become such powerhouses in this industry? What made them so great?
Well, I think one of the main, the score and critic conversation has always been very controversial, and I think they've already touched on both of that side of it. On the layman side for wine, which is the majority of all Americans who drink wine, they needed something to know a guide. And that's what Parker really invented, was this 100-point system, right? And so whether you like it or not, it did boost up the confidence for a customer to walk in and to go buy a wine on a score. Now, whether we like that model or not, but it did get somebody that's like, I want to come in, and if that wine's 91 points, it must be somewhat good because somebody thought it was 91 points.
Yeah.
Now, whether you agree with it, that's a controversy that we always talk about. So, I mean, you have to give them a lot of credit. He's the one who kind of started the 100-point scale, which everybody now has kind of follows. All these other publications and critics, except for, I guess there's a like Janice does not do one.
She does 20
points, right? So, but, he started, and it makes it easy for that consumer who doesn't know about wine to like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Chris's shop and can you give me some wines that are at least 90 points or above? And Chris is like, I can help you out that. So
Chester Cox gave this 91 points.
That's right. Yeah. So,
where's Chester's photo? Was that next?
I thought I saw it, but I didn't put it up there. Luckily,
sorry, Chris got me started. Sorry, keep going, Richard. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think it's a good guide.
Yeah. It's a basis.
It's a good basis. But it's also great. We talk about scores and arguments all the time. It's a fun thing. It's fun to talk about.
Sure.
I mean, I tried Verita a minute ago before I came. 100 point wine.
Were you in the car? Where would this happen?
Rep came by the store. Like I said. I have it in my trunk if you want to try it. You just taste it like, it's good, but like, how do you give that wine 100 points? And I was like,
yeah.
So you probably disagreed with his ranking based on your reaction right now.
I mean, they taste more wine than I do, and they've got that wine, and they're projecting that wine to be 100 points in 5 years.
Nice.
They're not just telling you right now that wine is.
That's a big thing, right? They're saying that wine is a perfect wine, right?
Yeah,
perfect wine,
no flaws.
That's hard to say anything as a perfect.
Right.
Well, I think that's why I think he's only given one perfect wine ever.
Suckling,
right? I think he did do it one time, and it was for like a 10-year-old Chateauneuf or something like that. I can't remember, but there's something about it. He just is not.
He gives high scores, but he doesn't give hundreds.
Right.
Well,
Because for that reason, he's like, what can be 100? Yeah.
Then there's like how many guys like go with you.
Sorry, that's not Suckling. That's Tanzer. Was it?
No, I think that's
Suckling. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tanzer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tanzer's the one only gave 100 pointer. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That is wine spectator hairdo. If I've ever seen
sorry
one.
about that.
There's a guy who likes wine and doesn't like getting his hair fixed.
The picture proves that.
But I think your point is valid. Like 100-point wine, if you're just an average drinker and you see 100-point wine and you can afford it, it's almost a marketing ploy. Like you're gonna want to buy that. It draws you to it, even if to your point, Chris, not necessarily going to be the best one you've ever had. In theory, it should be, but it's not. It's just like it's almost.
And you have to give kudos to the winery that got that in the Verite we just had. I mean, awesome to them. Whether we thought it was 100 point or not, I mean, good for them. That wine is going to sell great.
Yeah.
It's going to sell out. It's going to demand a high price because somebody thought it was a perfect wine.
Right.
But does influence come in that all of a sudden, like they're taking this guy to the best dinner to try the wine or, that kind of thing where it's kind of like a.
Usually it's done at the office.
Yeah.
With their office. Or sometimes it's done on inside the
They're blind.
winery.
He'll go to Napa and everybody he'll rent an office and he'll thousands of wines in there and they'll blow through them.
Yeah.
But then people come to the store asking me for maybe a big score wine or my favorite wine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sell that to them necessarily. They may want a Pinot Grigio and I'm going to sell them a Chateauneuf de Pop and they're going to think I'm an idiot because they don't like that wine. So that's my first question is, what do you drink? I mean, what are you wanting? That's not just because I like it doesn't mean
and
you're going to like it.
Kind of like somebody's coming to you to just kind of drink some wine. Somebody's coming to Richard to kind of drink some wine and eat. Somebody maybe coming to Weston is like, I'm interested in the manufacturing aspect of it, like what goes into it. You have like just between the three of you guys kind of a different checkpoint for everybody. And someone's going to gravitate maybe more towards one over the other just as far as the use case goes,
Right. So Weston, what role does smell play in wine drinking? Obviously, we all here know that it does, but for the layperson, what does smell? Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Why is it such a big? I'm not sure, but I mean, it is the biggest thing for wine drinking. I don't know why, but it's basically wine is all about the smell, which then you basically retronasally smell when you're tasting the wine. So you're basically confirming what you just smelled in a way.
Such an oenophile.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's when you just start to become more of a really into wine is when you are when the smell becomes so important to you. and then you just kind of drink it to confirm that and enjoy both parts. Certainly.
Wow.
Like
check the
Ducru,
nose to see.
I love.
Right.
Ducru to me always has probably one of the best noses in Bordeaux all the time. I
What's
love
the
that
nose?
wine.
Like, what's it do? It smell like? What's it? I mean, flowery. Like, what does it? What kind of? You know, I was always.
Are you not
amazed.
drinking with us? Can you not hold a glass and
No,
smell?
no. I just
Okay, all right.
I just want to like this. I just wonder what that like. What is it that like? What are you looking for in a smell? I guess is kind of or the nose.
Yeah, complexity, I think. For one thing, just a bunch of different things going on, different layers and depth.
No
Yeah.
flaws.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean-
yeah.
Flaws.
TCA, that's the first thing.
No
I mean,
flaws.
Smoke from a fire.
yeah. I mean, the main thing is with TCA, a wine being corked. That's the first thing. I mean, I just make sure the wine's clean.
Yeah.
And then go from there. If this is a cab,
Yeah.
what- it should smell like these check marks on my head, and then does it taste like that, and then go from there instead of.
Yeah, and a good thing like last night, cool experience is we opened up a 2014 Bordeaux from Burgundy, and it smelled just like it was awesome. It was fantastic, but the palate had just nothing on it.
Really?
That's right. So the bouquet on it was it was there. It was really perfumey, a lot of violets on. There's great stuff going on. Then we tasted the wine.
Mellow.
It was just kind of flat.
Yeah.
And then so what that told us, let's throw it in a decanter. Let's let it open up. The smell's not going to necessarily go away, but the wine will start to develop a little more as oxygen hits it. And then after 2 hours later, the bouquet matched to the palate.
Cool.
And that's what the nose. What Wes was saying, it's kind of the most important thing in wine. But the profile of the palate caught up to it, but it took some time to.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best way in you guys' mind for someone who doesn't drink wine who wants to be involved with wine? I think I know the answer, but in your mind, what's the best way for somebody to get into wine
Buy
who
a
doesn't know
winery.
much about? Is it drinking it?
No, Spy Silver Ghosts. That's what you do. Yeah.
Just drink.
Taste.
Yeah, just,
I mean,
yeah,
certain
just
wines,
play with
literally,
it.
taste is the way you learn. And learn
Yeah.
what you like and go from there. And then like we were talking a white Zen a minute ago. People start in white Zen, Moscato, and then that starts getting a little too much sugary. Then like, let's try Pinot Grigio, or then they get into Chardonnay, then they go into Pinot Noir, and keeps
Yeah.
going until you find your.
And do the
Some people
pairings.
just get stuck in their what they like, and then
Yeah.
they go from there. I mean, that's what. Pinophiles.
And the pairings too, because you'll have people that say, "Oh, I don't like sweet wine."
That's
I'm like,
a
"Well,
word.
Careful.
you need to try Sauterne with like Stilton." I mean, that'll say, "Well, look, you can't say you don't like sweet wine until you've tried those kind of things." I mean, there are all sorts of fun things you can do, and really get into it that way. Yeah,
Yeah, there's magical pairings. That's
Right.
yeah.
Well, and also, pop out of your comfort zone. A lot of people go and like, I don't drink white wine. I only drink Cabernet. Well, that's not necessarily true. You haven't had anything else besides Cabernet, really. Or you haven't had a white wine yet that you love. You've had some white wines you don't like, and so, I send people to put a cork in all the time because what Weston's already mentioned, that Chris tries every wine that is in his rack. And so you have to go to a buyer that starts knowing you, and so you don't have to go through all those questions.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? How much do you want to spend? Everybody hates answering those first-time questions, but he's legitimately trying to figure out, I can steer you in 1,000 different ways. Guide me. Like, I want to spend no more than $25. Perfect. I like La Crema. Great. I don't have that, but I have 3 other ones that are similar to Crema in this price range that you're going to like. And so just start finding that normal buyer that you like, that trusts you, and you trust them, and then that's how you start learning more about wine real quickly on that side.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
What for the holidays? We got holidays coming up. What do you guys suggest? You think like go big, like really
Italian.
special, or okay, Italian, Bordeaux, Napa.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go.
Next question.
Yeah.
Good one, though.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a champagne holidays is such a great drink. One, to give as gifts. 2, if you're gonna have parties, you gotta have champagne at a party. Next, waking up Christmas morning, it's just a lot going on. Champagne makes that day a little bit easier on families.
Yeah.
And rosé champagne is so great with turkey.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Thanksgiving.
There you go.
That's
Yep.
great. Pinot
Nice.
Noir.
They sound great.
Yeah.
I saw a story. We've all seen this, I think, because of the pandemic. But one of the stories I read was that online alcohol sales rose 243% during the pandemic. Did you guys, all wine sellers, did you guys notice a spike during the pandemic for your wine sales?
Well, did you get the other stat that Texas was one of the leading states?
I did not, but that sure makes sense.
We were in the leading states.
Okay.
Good job, Texans.
All right. Yes.
Helping out that economy for us.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris, that's probably your
I mean, my sales were up. They weren't. Good God, they weren't up that much.
But you did see a spike because of the pandemic.
Definitely. I mean, like I said earlier, we had to evolve. Where before we were open a little longer, we started doing tastings, curbside service. I mean, stopped doing tastings, curbside service, and deliveries. I'm still doing deliveries. So, yeah, we just adapted, and it was crazy. When the world went down. Actually, I was in the hospital with COVID.
Yep.
And my employee Kate, we text, and people were wanting wine and thought it was all coming to an end, and just sold a lot of stuff that, especially those first 2 weeks, and then kind of adapted. And so, yeah, it was, but definitely not 200%.
Right.
But,
I remember seeing, our driveway or our street, during the first lockdown couple weeks and maybe months. Every recycle bin was just stockpiled of empty wine bottles. It was humorous. I mean, you've seen commercials, I think, or videos, but wine bottles just stacked to the brim. Like, people were just doing some serious drinking when they were stuck at home. So good for them. So, so one of the last things we got is we want to do a little blind wine taste with you guys. In the brown paper sack in the middle, I have poured its contents into this decanter. I would look very much for you guys to take your time, sample this wine, and then show us all what maybe a blind wine tasting looks like. And while you do that, Britt and I have some quiz, factoids, things to throw at you. Keep you guys talking about wine.
Yeah, it's gotten quite quiet in here. Just to let you know. Yeah. The energy is, I don't know if it's a Friday afternoon or if it's the wine, but we're just slowly, or maybe it's looking at Jay taking a nap at the camera there.
Yes.
Not sure what it is, but, and some of you guys got to go back to work tonight, right?
I can't answer that question.
Yep.
That's right. Don't set us up for this.
These are trained
this
professionals.
is a Monday afternoon, right?
That's right.
So hold your comments for a second while we go through a couple things. On the screen behind you don't need to look, but it's got the size of wine bottles. The largest being a Nebuchadnezzar. Have you heard that name before, Brendan?
I have.
Nebuchadnezzar holds. Well, a different context maybe. Nebuchadnezzar is the largest wine bottle you could buy, and then they're very hard to find, I would assume, but they hold 20 bottles, 20 bottles of wine. Have you guys seen these? Have you guys been across these in your tenure?
Oh yeah, we do one every year. I have a crawfish boil every year at my house, and so I do a Nebuchadnezzar of rosé.
Okay.
Shout out to Clay Fritz with the Lost. I like how you pulled the Lost Canyon. That's a buddy of mine bought that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That just was the most attractive graph I could find.
I saw that earlier. That's funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
Next question.
No, Weston, any Nebuchadnezzars in Montagu's future?
There's a lot that goes into those.
It's a tough sell, right?
Yeah. How about some Magnums? I could sell the hell out of some Magnums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to work on that too. I know. Those Nebuchadnezzars are probably something more that you take an order for and you fill it after the order. Yep. Yeah.
Is it like a novelty thing or is it legit? I mean.
No, it's legit.
Yeah, I know that it's like real and all, but I mean, is it something where it's just as a wine, manufacturer, like this is too much. Like, let me just keep to my craft and just keep doing this
that's
kind of thing.
The hard thing for me, it's a bit of that, but they are cool. They age totally differently. They do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
If you email Weston and you want one, I bet he'll make you one.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I have 3 liters in the store regularly all the time. We sell a bunch of those, especially during the holidays. People throw them on the table. It looks cool.
Which one's the 3 liter?
Jeroboam.
Yeah.
Jeroboam, excuse me.
Yeah. Magnums are popular too, just for that fact, the big bottle every.
Yeah.
So
would the Nebuchadnezzar be considered kind of the monster truck and the Prius, and then somewhere in there you've got a lifted vehicle, and then up to
I don't know
maybe just a leveled vehicle.
Pour that thing, jeez.
Probably so.
I'm watching Richard.
Well, I'm trying to get another cool car to put in there. That was great.
Yeah.
Yugo.
Yeah.
Pinto.
Warren's Land Cruiser.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. What bit? Oh,
Richard's shirt.
So there are 10,000 varieties of grapes in the world.
oh, we're back to questions again.
back to questions.
Okay. Yeah, I like the car thing.
Well, the question is this: there's 10,000 varieties of grape, but do you guys know the top 3 wine producers in the world? There's 3 countries.
Producers?
Uh huh.
Like the actual
Italy,
name
France,
of
and
the
Spain.
country-
Oh, the
Italy, and
countries.
Spain.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I did want to ask
Italy,
something.
France, and
France,
Spain.
Italy, and Spain.
Did you look at my notes?
No.
Because
but
that's correct.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
China, though, is one I wanted to discuss with you guys. China is making a surge in wine purchasing. What is going on in China that's leading to all their huge surge in buying wine? Suddenly, wine is popular in China. Not this
money.
year, but over the last couple of years, yeah.
They want to keep it from the Americans.
They've
Well, I
got-
think
don't
that
stand by
one
that
of
statement.
the largest. Well, there's a great documentary on that. It's called Red Obsession.
Okay.
It's awesome. It talks about the politics and the economics behind all of this and how it kind of got going. They actually really fluctuated the future market for Bordeaux because they were buying these futures of Bordeaux and just really jacked up the prices that we actually didn't see a whole lot of 13, 14, 15 come in the United States because the China market was already put the prices so up and we were like, we can't afford them.
Wow.
And they didn't care. They were still buying all of it.
Yeah.
It's slowly, I think, correcting itself back down again. But China, I mean, they're an impact big time.
Napa cult wines through the roof too.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
they do the research, like they're getting the good ones, or
I would
just
say
kind
they
of
do some research. You know, it's also a big status for them.
Yeah.
For wine.
Having it on the table.
Having it on the table.
Okay. Okay.
Do you guys know what the most widely planted grape is in the world?
Chardonnay.
No, it would be.
I think
No, it's a white grape
Chardonnay.
though. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Cabernet
Aaron.
Sauvignon.
Oh, really?
There you go.
700,000 acres worldwide.
I wouldn't finish.
But this is actually on the internet, so we might not need to go with that answer.
Yeah.
Wait, I need
Richard
to ask on
changed that.
the big wine manufacturers. They come in and would they say to you as like, hey, we want to use buy some of your grapes? Is that how it works? Where you
Well,
can
I actually buy my grapes from other growers, so I don't actually own any land or farm it myself. But I buy from various growers out there.
Is there just like a big exchange for that, like a large market that exists, like either online or you have to go out there? And
Yeah,
say,
mostly
like,
just knowing people and meeting people and handshakes.
Yeah.
By and large. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and they have extra to sell, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, most everyone kind of thinks about it initially as like the estate model, where the estate owns the land and they own the winery and all these but there are a lot of different ways of doing it. There's some people who are just growers.
Yeah.
Where all they do is focus, like Andy Beckstoffer, who owns the vineyard where the Montagu comes from, is probably the most sought after, has some of the best vineyards in Napa Valley, and he just grows.
Yeah.
And so he sells his fruit to other great wineries that do different amazing wines out of it, but he focuses on the growing. And so everyone kind of has their own little niche.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
And even if you own a lot of vineyards, a lot of times, well,
It was expected.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this wine out. So.
All right, Weston, this one's for you. How many grapes on average does it take to make a standard bottle of wine?
oh man,
I mean, grapes are clusters.
Grapes.
grapes.
Jeez.
Well, that's tough because
is
you
tough.
have like
It depends on the varietal.
like Zinfandel has big, Syrah has big grapes, Cab Sauv has tiny like.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I'm
200.
Well, that's no. Yeah.
200. That's
Okay, there we
perfect.
go. I'll go with 200.
He nailed it. Good job. Good job, Chris.
Let's get to the taste test.
Are you guys forming an opinion yet?
Well, you told us we can't drink it. I'm going in.
Okay,
Can
good.
we go in?
Weston's looking at the
Okay, all right.
color.
Oh
the
wait, you
legs.
said you said they couldn't drink it. They have to only do
No.
all the other stuff.
I'm just
Wait,
giving
wait,
him
we go.
time to form an
yeah.
opinion.
I believe it's red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, right?
They've all formed an
mean, you
opinion
wanna-
on you,
Let me
Chester.
check my cheat sheet. Yes, it's definitely red.
Dark color. It's definitely young.
What grape?
There's
Yeah.
oak.
All right, Weston, you want to begin the big reveal?
Why don't you let Chris do it first?
Chris, let's begin
You've
with
been
you.
starting with Weston the whole time. Well, we can go Richard, middle.
Weston, would you please leave the set? We're going to deal only with Chris and
Yeah.
Richard now.
Oh yeah, we could mute his so we can't
I'd be
hear
happy
it.
to.
How about we
right?
do it as a group? I mean, it's
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's
I mean-
a good idea.
dark color. I mean, to me, you get blue fruits, black fruits.
It's young.
Definitely young. 18 vintage. It's showing a lot of oak.
Is this what y'all do every time y'all drink a glass of wine?
I don't drink wine, but I'm watching this because I like.
Okay, your Zima, when you pop the Zima, you're like, okay, this is last week.
hard seltzer.
It's hard
Excuse
seltzer,
me,
yeah.
Richard.
To me, I'm leaning more towards Syrah,
Yeah.
just because of blue, black
It's
fruits.
like Paso, or is it Australia? Is where I am.
I don't get the eucalyptus and all
Agreed.
that.
Yeah.
So we,
Or maybe
Is this what lunch with you guys looks like, or dinner? Like this is what
Could
it
be,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
Do you ever
It's
do this amongst
wild
yourselves?
and crazy. Yeah.
It's like a surprise thing.
we do this every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually.
every
So,
bottle I open, I
Yes.
Do
first
you have
glass
them
is
over?
always-
Tell them to come to the store to do it,
Oh,
kind
no.
of thing.
They're all 5,000
Yeah.
every year.
we
Yep.
sh-
a lot of work.
Yeah.
We're good friends.
we have
Yeah.
some good stuff together. But yeah,
Do you guys remember a gentleman by the name of Winston Churchill? He drank a champagne called Paul Rogers. Are you
Paul
familiar?
Roger.
Paul Roger. Forgive me.
I've heard of it.
Editing. This is a little factoid. Paul Roger. That's embarrassing.
I thought we were getting the. I mean, you guys are the answers on the tip of the tongue, and it's like, hey,
We're like
just
television.
sideways this thing into
We're on
another
television now, so we're gonna space it out and make a whole show out of this. According to the internet, he drank Winston Churchill drank Paul Roger 42,000 bottles in his lifetime, which equates to about a bottle and a half every day his entire adult life.
1,000 more to go, Richard.
Got it.
You are high on
Yeah.
that trail.
We're in the first hour of 5, so
Okay.
just sit back.
Yeah.
that's probably why they have Paul Roger has a Winston Churchill label. That's their
Yep.
tete-a-tete.
Wait, Churchill drank that much?
A bottle and a half a day is adult life. Pretty
Plus the
good.
gin and vodka he drinks.
That's fake news. That's fake news.
You think so?
There you go.
It could be.
Could you ask
Well, you know
him
what
it
Napoleon
is?
said about champagne?
Well, you have a mic too. You can ask the same question.
Well, they were coming. They were going to with Australian or what?
We were
No.
leaning towards Syrah, but I think it's a
Yeah, like there was.
Yeah, we were talking about Australia, but it doesn't have the eucalyptus that you typically get in it. So I was going with Paso, Robles, California, Syrah.
And going back
Personally,
to this
but-
goes back to your question earlier about the aroma. So first we look at the color of the wine. We're doing deductive tastings, and so color will tell us a lot of it give us a range of what it could be and what it can't be. Then also tell us an idea of the age of the wine.
How?
just the
The thickness, like the syrupy?
You know,
The color
like
and the
we're on the
rim.
Duke Crew right now. We saw the Duke Crew in this one. I mean, this is definitely a young wine within 4 years of vintage.
That's the legs thing. Is that legs?
No,
just the depth and how rich it is and the color.
legs just say that it has alcohol still in it.
Or it
That's
doesn't
a-
have alcohol in
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Has
see,
legs,
this,
it means
see this one starts to get a little bit more brown on the edge.
Yeah.
So just, take a simple concept of like a strawberry, right? You have a fresh strawberry, and the older it gets, the more oxygen it gets to it, it starts to get a little more brown on the edge.
Yeah.
The wine does the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a quick analogy. Then we will
skin
smell
does
the
that.
wine. Mm-hmm. And so when we smell the wine, that's what Chris, you'll smell those blue fruits on there.
Eucalyptus, though. What? I don't know what a eucalyptus
Minty.
eucalyptus leaf. Oh, minty. Okay, yeah, that's a
Like
good.
your-
That's what
analogy.
koalas eat.
It also could be a petite.
Bring it back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Petite Syrah also as dark as it is, and you're getting that kind of I'll show you
Tannin
brownie.
level, though. About tannin, though.
It's there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Weston, have you reached
Weston's-
a conclusion?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
is this your Syrah?
I don't think so.
That'd be great.
The best one Weston's ever made was a Syrah, but it was 2017.
15,
right?
yeah.
15.
Did it
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
Now, do you hold
Yeah.
back? Does somebody hold back some of that then, like a case or like a
Not
lot of
on
cases?
purpose.
Yeah. Oh, really? Well, you want to
No,
sell
I'm
it.
just kidding. Yeah.
But do
always
you,
try to
Chris?
hold back some of that
I
stuff.
collect-
Yes.
I
Yeah.
collect his wines just because we're buddies. Like his first vintage was 2012. I've got 12 through 18. He just released
nice.
19.
In case, like how many cases is a normal
no,
hold
like
back?
bottles.
Oh, bottles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I may only have one bottle
do
left.
some
but
people hold back cases?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay.
From
Yeah,
collectors
I
and-
hold back a little bit, but some wineries will hold back library wines that release them 10 years later and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Some
and the-
people buy a case of wine and drink a bottle every 6 months to see how it evolves.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
What's in the FORTitude bag, gentlemen?
I think we all got some California Syrah.
Wait, don't tell them. Yeah, let them each get a guess.
I thought you've been hunting for the answer for the last
I
10
know.
minutes.
So, what do you think, Weston?
Yeah, let's go with my Syrah from Paso Robles, California.
Okay.
Paso. Okay.
Richard?
Or or very heavily
French
extracted
for
Chardonnay.
Richard.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That's good.
Covered
Yeah.
the French region.
Well, since it's Richard now.
Yes.
Yeah, merci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Day Nana.
We We can do this again, can't we? This will be fun to do this one again. Well, and also, I'm a little subjective to what you hear on the outside. So, when you hear Syrah, okay, what has to be Syrah, right?
Yeah.
And
no,
so,
don't do that. Don't go that way.
Yeah, I'm going Syrah. Yeah.
You're not going to go Miami Pinot?
Yep. Well, could be the same thing. Chris.
I wouldn't serve you Miami,
Break
Chris.
that
Come on.
tie, Chris. Break that tie.
I'm going to go off the limb and do Petite just because it's got a little brambly back there, but it's probably Syrah. But
Any particular country?
Petite's usually only grown in California.
Okay.
I'll see Lodi. I can get geeky, but
Wait, we didn't
It's
see
grown-
the Lodi. Is that a valley? Or an
Lodi
area?
is closer to Lodi is closer to it's Central Valley.
Okay.
So it's closer to Sacramento.
Okay.
That's some of the oldest grapes are planted in Lodi. Just a really like Davi's family started there, and
Okay.
Yeah.
it's an up and coming region.
Do you have any
It's been
guesses,
there.
Brenton?
I'm going to go across the pond on this one. Just from not tasting, smelling, just only looking at it. I'm going to go with the region I liked hearing about most,
Just some
which was Italy.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
some
Well, gentlemen, it's
Excellent sound effects for our audio.
Did you hear that?
Nice.
we're opening a paper bag.
Molly.
It is the
Blue-eyed boy.
2019 Blue Eyed Boy Molly Duker Shiraz. So you guys were on the right track.
Great.
You guys are
From
all,
where?
Yeah.
California? Is that California?
Yeah,
That's across
yes.
the pond.
It's a
Australia.
long
Yeah,
pond.
the big
It's
pond.
Australia.
Weston was
McLarenville.
closest then. Well, Richard never really disclosed
I
area.
did. I just said off over here. I had it right. I said Molly Duker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, y'all just, yeah. We'll go back and edit this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I will go back and check the tape, my friend.
Let's not go back.
Yeah. And you know what, Warren? When Richard started saying that he actually guessed it, I went back and listened. Wasn't the case.
Oh yeah. So let's not do that then.
Hope you guys had fun today. We've truly
Loved it.
enjoyed your time being here.
Great.
Weston Eidson from Montagu Wines, Richard King from Ellerbe's. Please go visit Ellerbe's. Chris Keel from Put a Cork in It. Go visit Chris.
Let him say.
Yep.
Give a website or something or anything. Like we got
Put
your
a cork
address.
in wine. I don't do any e-commerce
Okay.
or anything, but you can call me.
Richard, we know. But go ahead.
We're creative. Yeah. EllerbeFineFoods.com. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Montagu Wines and SilverGhostCellars.com.
He's got a fan only
Yeah.
page
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
If you like wine, you can't go wrong here. If you like food, you can't go wrong there. But wine in general, these guys are top of the pyramid. So thank you guys very much.
thank you.
Enjoyed
Thanks.
this.
Awesome.
Great. Cheers, guys.
The first ever has commenced.